emotional energies or moods of our coworkers, of our managers, and even ourselves affect the way the organization behaves. I've made it my life's work understanding how emotion impacts behaviors, notably when going through change. And in this video, I'm sharing two of the biggest factors that I see impacting that emotion and organizational behavior dynamic. Let's get it. By the end of this video, you're going to know two of the core factors impacting the dynamic of emotion on organizational behavior. Factors that once you can understand them might help to enable you to create that type of culture that you've been longing for. So before I dive in on how individual emotions and moods affect organizational behavior, let me first give voice to what I mean by the individual behavior versus organizational behavior. Individual behavior is pretty self-explanatory, right? That's your behavior. That's the behavior of individuals in the organization. So as an example, let's say you're not necessarily a morning type of person. So anytime you have video or Zoom, what have you, conference calls in the morning, you never turn your camera on, because you just don't feel in the mood to be bright and sunny and shiny, and you don't feel like you're looking your best. So you just keep your camera off. That's your individual behavior. And perhaps it's only you and one other person that keeps their camera off, and the vast majority of everyone else on the team or in the organization will have their camera on in the morning. That's individual behavior. Now, as we think about organizational behavior, that really relates to the culture of the organization, right? So you move from individual to organizational once you've reached a critical mass of individuals in the org doing the same behavior. And that's how it can become a culture dynamic or a culture norm. So carrying forward that other example, if in morning meetings, it's pretty much everyone that doesn't turn their camera on, and maybe the anomaly is just that one person that's bright and smiling at 6 a.m. ready to go, then that organizational behavior is for morning meetings, you don't turn your camera on. You don't have to, no one else is doing it, right? So that's the difference between an individual behavior versus organizational behavior. It's really about that critical mass of individuals expressing or doing the same type of behavior. With that out of the way, let's dive into those two factors at play as we think about individual emotion and the dynamic that it can have on organizational behavior. Factor number one, emotion influences individual behavior. Our emotional energy so often influences our actions or our decisions. In fact, Gallup's research discovered in the arena of behavioral economics that about 70% of our decisions are influenced by emotion, while the remaining 30% are influenced by rational thought. Think about that for a minute. 70% of what we do, how we respond, our decisions, our actions, our behaviors are influenced by our emotions, by our mood, right? And even pulling from that last example, likely when you get up, you just don't feel excited. You don't feel like you want to engage and people to see your face and the way that you interact when you're in those morning meetings. So that's what's driving perhaps that behavior to not want to turn on your camera. So this is an important factor as we think about the influence overall of individual behavior to organizational behavior, or that individual emotion, because that emotion, that energy can really influence the actions, the decisions that we make. 70% of the time, in fact. The second really important factor is that influencers motivate the entire organization. Okay, so I know that we've all come to understand and know this now career path of an influencer, right? So there's actually been a change to the Oxford Dictionary with the word influencer in a marketing context. It is a person with the ability to influence potential buyers of a product or a service by promoting or recommending those products or services on social media. Well, there are influencers in our teams and our organizations as well. These are those role models that have the power to influence the behavior of others throughout our teams or our organization. Their potential buyers are the individuals on the team or in the organization, and then the product or the service that they're recommending, whether they're conscious of it or not, are their viewpoints and their consistent behaviors. Oftentimes, these influencers are in leadership or in higher levels of the organization, but sometimes they're not. And this is why I firmly believe that you can absolutely lead from wherever you sit in your organization. If you have that power to influence another into behaviors, into different viewpoints, into different thoughts, you are absolutely a leader in the organization because you wield that power of influence. And the emotional energy of that individual, that influencer, has the greatest potential to impact the behavior of the entire organization because they can create that momentum to get you to that critical mass that's required of individuals performing or doing the same types of behavior to then become a cultural norm or an organizational behavior. By the way, you getting value from this? Make sure you subscribe because I drop content like this all the time seeking to give you value. So click subscribe, join the community, and make sure you get the latest video right to your inbox. All right, let's get back into it. So what, right? I just covered those two factors, but what is the so what of all of this? You know, I'm certainly not advising or advocating for you always being positive and upbeat because you're striving to be a positive influencer in the organization. That's not what this is about. This is about you striving to be aware of how your emotional energy or your mood might be impacting the behaviors of those around you. So it's really about having that self-awareness. And I think there's a lot of power to you being able to put word to give voice to when you might be in a low energy type of a mood so that you can ask for grace of those within your team or within the organization and so that they can understand, okay, this is the mindset, this is the energy, this is the mood that you're bringing into the room. I think that emotional self-awareness is huge as we think about nurturing the types of behaviors and moving our initiatives, our deliverables, all of the work forward. And not only can expressing or giving voice to your emotional mood or that energy be helpful in granting a bit of grace, you know, from your team and your organization, but it also creates this opportunity to authentically connect with another. I can't tell you how many times that I've stepped into a meeting or stepped into a room and just given voice to the fact that I might be feeling a little bit low energy because of something else that might have happened in that week. And then 2 or 3 other people will say, I feel you. I'm in that same place right now. And so then we might decide, you know what, we had this scheduled for an hour. Maybe let's only try to jam in as much as we can in 45 minutes to give us all a bit of a break and some respite, knowing that we're lower energy. So honestly, it's my hope that the behavior dynamic that you will influence in your organization is that emotional self-awareness, is giving voice to your emotional energy and your mood to move forward in a constructive way, always looking for that opportunity to authentically connect. That's the cultural norm that I hope you'll be able to influence in your team or across your entire organization. Speaking of mood and emotion, I actually have something else for you completely for free. I actually want to gift you a chapter from my best-selling book, Change Enthusiasm: How to Harness the Power of Emotion for Leadership and Success. Now, I want to gift you the introductory chapter to this work, which takes you through what this growth mindset is all about, how you can use those lower energy emotions like fear, frustration, especially when you're going through change, how you can transform that into fuel for your growth to help you move forward. And I want to gift you that chapter completely for free. All you got to do is click on the link below in the content. I want to make sure that you have the data, the insights, the research to enable your growth through even your greatest change challenges. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.